Y'all know what's going on. It's time for another episode of Doing Time with Joe. I'm your host, Joe Baker, and welcome to the show, y'all. Now, when I left off, the last thing I was talking about is that this female officer, she's gotten caught up in between the Bloods and the Crips. They had a standoff on the ball field, right? The Crip dude let it be known publicly that she belonged to him, to the Blood dude, right? The Blood dude and his crew, they not accepting that. And then this male officer, he walks up on the scene. Now, this male officer knows her. They went to high school together, right? So when he comes up on the scene, he overhears what's being said by these Crips and these Bloods. They're yelling and arguing back and forth, right? And then she's standing in the middle of them looking befuddled, not knowing what to do. Because now she has been put on blast publicly. Publicly. She's been talking to the Crip on the phone, talking to the Bloods in the pod. Now she don't know what to do. She's thinking about all the situations that she could possibly, do, and she did this. She put herself in a bad situation where these Crips got pictures of her in her thong. They got her phone number. They got her address. These Bloods been talking to her, and the dude that she's been messing with, he's locked up in the back. She's panicking. She does not want to lose her job. Now, when this officer walks up, this male officer that knows her, that went to high school with her, he's overhearing this kind of stuff, and so he's walking away with her, and he said, look, you need to tell me everything, or I can't help you. She's unsure if she can trust him, but she knows him. So she tells him, look, to buy some time, she said, I'll talk to you when we get off. I'll tell you what's going on. Now, she's nervous. Imagine that. Now, keep in mind, you've been in a situation yourself out there dealing with somebody and something. You've been caught doing something that you ain't got no business doing. You're nervous. You're afraid. You're scared. And this is how she was, because her career was on the line. You feel what I'm saying? Her reputation was on the line. And depending on what she had done that they could possibly prove, she might be going to jail. It's a possibility, y'all. It's a possibility. She's crossed the line and she's terrified. So when she puts him and say, look, I'll tell you everything later, that gets her some time. Now, in the meantime, between time, the Bloods and the Crips, they're making plans. They're playing, plotting, and strategizing. Because it's going to go down. It's going to go down. And now when you're on a compound, in a prison compound, let me tell y'all something. Anytime anything happens, everybody on that whole compound hears some parts of it, bits and pieces. It's called inmate.com, y'all. Everything is known to some degree. So the dude that she was originally messing with that's in the back, that's been pushed to the back by the Crips, he's hearing about what's going on. He heard about this standoff on the ball field between the Bloods and the Crips, and this female officer's in the middle of it. And he's wondering, what has she gotten herself into? But it ain't nothing he can do to help her. Nothing that he can do to help her. Now the Crips, they're sitting back. They're thinking, okay, what do we do? Now the OG tells Cuz, he said, look, you got to figure out a way to get to her and talk to her. But he can't do it. If she don't come to the pod or the ball field, it's no way that he'll see her. So he's got to wait till she comes to the pod. Other than that, he's going to have to call her, but he's going to have to call her late at night. So he doesn't see her the rest of that day. They put her somewhere else. Later on that night, he tries to call her. She doesn't answer the first time, right? She doesn't answer the first time. And the reason she didn't answer the first time is because she's still talking to that officer. She's explaining to that officer that, look, I crossed the line. I was liking this one dude, right? The peon I told y'all about. And we started to mess around a little bit. And the Crips caught us. She told them that they had a picture. She showed them the picture on her phone because they had sent the picture to her. All it was when they were going into the room, this idiot accidentally or purposely, I'm not going to say accidentally, it was purposely, this idiot touched her on her butt, and the Crip was filming it, and when he saw that, they knew that they had her. So when the Crip sitting there to it, it spooked her out. So she's showing this officer this stuff. And he's looking at it and he's shaking his head. He says, so what else have you done? So then she shows him all the pictures that she sent the Crip dude in her thong. It doesn't have her head on it, so you can't tell who it is, but it's got her body. She's wearing the thong. She's bent over. She's got her legs up in the air, and that thing just hanging. It's clear what's going on. Then he said, is there anything else? And she said, yeah, a couple of times I took in a pack to the dude that I was messing with. So she done took some weed into him. Then she tells she took some weed into the Crips, but she ain't took nothing into the blood. She's laying it all out for him. She's terrified. She just wants him to help her. Now this officer, again, like I said, he knows her. He went to high school with her. He knows she's a good person. But he also knows something else about her. She's easy to manipulate, gullible. All she wants somebody to say is she looks good. And then she looks good, but you know how women are. Some women out there in the streets, and men too. I don't want to make this an issue about women, but some men too. Some men are handsome. Some women look good. They're real cute, but they don't believe it. They need somebody to validate them. And this is how she is. She needed somebody to tell her how good she looked, because she didn't hear that a lot on the streets. You know what I'm saying? Everybody out there looking good. But in the penitentiary, a woman comes in here, she's surrounded by 120 men. Oh, man. Oh, my goodness. She's a superstar. And she was hearing that. She was feeling that. And she gave in to that. They gave her all the attention that she craved. And she gave in to that. And he knew she was like that. So he leans back in the seat and he tells her, he said, look, we got to figure out a way to get those pictures. She said, I don't know how we're going to do it. They got them on the phone. He said, how many of them have it? She said, as far as I know, just 2. And he said, that's probably true. They don't want everybody to have them. So that's how they control each other. You feel me? So he asked her, who are the 2? And she tells him the one Crip dude name, then she tells him the OG name. So he's leaning back in the car seat and he's playing, plotting, and strategizing himself. He's trying to figure this thing out. He said, if we get those phones, we can negate this problem. But you got to get those phones. How do you get those phones? How do you do that? Because it has to be timed right. And then at the same time, it's got to be a situation where he's getting them. Because if anybody else get them and those phones are open, guess what? They're going to see those pictures. They're going to find her number. And plus, let me say this, don't forget, they have her address too, because one of the female Crips on the town done dropped the packs off to her at her house. You feel what I'm saying? So they got her in the hucklebuck. So how does she get out of this? How does she get out of this? Now, she gets out of the car with dude, you know what I'm saying, and gone in the house, you know what I'm saying? And now she's nervous, right? She's seen what a cuz had been calling her a couple of times. She couldn't answer. So now she's in her room in the house. She answers the phone and asks him what's going on. Immediately she says, why did you do that to me? And he said, calm down. She's yelling. She's yelling at him. He tells her, calm down, calm down. You know what I'm saying? He said, it ain't that bad. He said, we finna take care of these bloods. We gonna get them. She said, don't do that. She tells them not to do that, but they gonna do it. They don't want to hear nothing else. They gonna do it because they feel like if they don't push on the bloods, then they gonna end up with her. So it has to happen. She don't understand how this gang stuff is. Most people don't. Most people don't. So she's trying to convince him not to do it. So in the meantime, in between time, see, he's still thinking stupid. He asked her, are you going to be able to bring the pack this weekend? She said, no, I'm not going to be able to do that. I'm not doing nothing else no more. She's afraid. She's terrified. But she don't understand the blood mentality, the Crip mentality, the gangster mentality. She don't understand none of that. It's do what I say when I say it. The risk be damn. See, that's one thing you got to understand about gangs. They don't give a damn about your safety, your well-being. It's do what the fuck they want done when they want it done. And that's as simple as that. So he said, look, you know what it is. Bring that pack this weekend and we're going to have a problem. Now, cuz going to come over and drop the pack off to you like she's been doing, and you bring it on up in here. Now, she's terrified because she don't know what to do. She's already under the spotlight, but just with the dude that she went to high school with. So she don't really know what to do. So she agrees. I'll do it. She said, I'll do it. Now he's happy. See, that's how gang members are. It's almost like being bipolar. 1 minute you're happy, 1 minute you're mad. As long as you get in your way, you're cool. Now he's happy. He want to freak talk to her now. Try to get her to send some pictures. She tell him she ain't feeling it, right? She got to get off the phone. So she gets off the phone. He hit the OG up and tell the OG, look, everything's still straight for the weekend. Everything's still straight for the weekend. So now what does she do? She lean back. She's laying on her bed. So she calls the officer that she just got out of the car with. He brought her home. And she tells him, look, one of the Crip dudes just called me. And he told me I got to take that pack in this weekend. He said, look, you're going to have to do it. because I can't put together what I want to put together in time enough before the weekend. But he said, I got an idea in mind. And she said, what is it? He said, no, I got to do a little research first. But I got this idea that it might work. He said, but I'm going to need you. And he said, you got to agree to everything that I'm telling you to do or it's not going to work. She said, I'll do whatever I need to do to make this go away. So they get off the phone. So the next day at work, the male officer, he gets assigned back in the back where the original dude that she was messing with is. So he goes in the back and he talking to dude. He said, man, look here, man. You know Officer such and such? So he comes to the door to say, he's like, yeah, I know. He said, look, I'm her friend. We went to high school together. I know everything that's going on. What I need you to do is tell me why you back here. He's laying out everything to the officer. He's laying it all out to him, right? And he finally gets to the part that the officer wanted to hear because he knew everything else because she had told him. So he tells the officer, he said, look, the reason I'm back here is because the Crips pushed me back here. They told me I had to go. I had to go. They wanted her, and that was the end of it. And if I would have stayed on the compound, I wouldn't have been able to be with her. I wouldn't be able to go around her, and I would have got beat. And I didn't want to deal with that, so I checked in. And that's why he was back there. So he's starting to understand a little bit better that this was a whole game anyway. The Crips intended to push him out of the way all along so that they can get her. So he asked him, he said, look, tell me, do you know what a phone is in the room? And he told him, no, I don't know where he hides his phone. He said, do you know the code to the phone? He told him, no, he didn't know the code to the phone, how to unlock it. He said, so you don't know anything about the phone other than that he's got one? He was like, yeah. He said, what kind is it? And he told him. So now he's gotten all the information he can get out of him. He's of no use to him. So now what he has to do, this is the plan. He's going to figure out a way to where he can get them on the phone at a time that he's at work. So he's going to have to work overtime. He's going to have to work overtime. So this is the plot. While he's at work overtime, he's going to get her to get them to call her, right? And when they call, he's going to bust them. Him and another officer that is going to help him. But the other officer doesn't know what's going on. So that night, well, during that day, he goes to the shift command. He asked shift command, do you need any help working? He said, I need to get me some overtime out. They're always short, so they needed somebody to work over. So he said, can I work this unit here? You know, it's laid back. I just want to chill. I just want to, you know what I'm saying, have the easiest post available. They said, yeah, no problem. So they put him in the pod. And he tells her, look here, at 11 o'clock, I need you to call or get dude on the phone some kind of way and tell him that you need to talk to the OG. And I need you to get all three of them on the phone at the same time. All three of y'all need to be on the phone at the same time. So she said, I don't know if they'll do that. I've never done it before. He said, you got to try. Because he said, this is not going to work if I don't get all the phones at the same time. It's not going to work. And it's still a crapshoot because I don't know if this is what the officer's telling, he don't know if they've sent those pictures to somebody else or whatever the case may be. But at the end of the day, he's trying to figure out a way to knock them all out at one time. If they get the phones, they can probably control the situation. That's just the bottom line. So they get her. She goes home that night. She works her shift. She goes home that night. Before she leaves, she tell cousin, just call me when I get home. I got something I need to discuss with you. And she said that she tells him, I need to talk to all of y'all, both of y'all, when I get home, because I need to make sure that everything is going to be straight this weekend because I can't keep doing this. My job is in jeopardy. So he tells her, okay, no problem. So she watches him walk off and go tell OG that she wants to talk to him too. So the OG looks at her, you know what I'm saying? Because they think they got her on lock. They're not worried about her doing anything. The OG looks at her and gives her the thumbs up. And that's just scared her to death. Because now they're publicly doing things. They are bold with it. They don't really care about secrecy or anything like that anymore. They are making it known that you belong to us. You feel me? And that's not for her benefit more so than it is for the Bloods. They're putting on a show. Now the Bloods are watching the whole time now. Keep in mind, they're still in play. They're still in play. But they haven't had a chance to bump down on and talk because she's been in and out of the pod. She's been moving around because she don't want to be in one place now. She's afraid of what might happen. And don't forget, it's still the standoff. That issue has to be resolved one way or the other. And it's going to be. So here's the thing. They go. She's at home. About 11 o'clock, she makes a call to the officer, letting them know I'm getting ready to do it now. He gets off the phone and he leans back in the chair as if he's just relaxing, reading a magazine, because at night the lights are off other than the light that right at the desk of the officer. So the whole pod is dark. And everybody's looking at their TV or doing whatever they're doing on the phone, or whatever the case may be, illegally. So she calls him. She got him on the phone. So the officer, he leans back and he looks at his watch. He said, I'm going to give him about 10 minutes so they can be deep into the conversation. After about 10 minutes on the phone, he gets up. But what he does before he gets up, and this is important, what he does before he gets up, he takes his keys and puts them down in his pocket. See, and that's key, because I'm going to tell y'all something. See, officers have keys. There's a lot of keys. They got keys to the cells, keys to everything in the pod. And when they usually walk in the pod, you can hear those keys. And when we hear those keys, we know that the officers are moving around, right? And they know this too. They want us to hear them getting up, right? So, but this time, he put the keys in his pocket. Now, cuz and them, they both lived upstairs, right? Now, she's got both of them on the phone and they're talking. So he walks up the steps real quiet. Normally, you hear officers' boots. They make it known that they're walking. Right? But nobody heard anything. And nobody was watching out the doors, the cell doors. So he gets to the top of the steps. Now, the other officer has made his way in, and the one that he told he might need some help. He had an idea that two people had phones, right? So the other officer has made his way in, and he told him, don't bring no keys and walk light. They're creeping. Now, one officer goes one way, the other officer goes the other, and they're going to come up the steps from different avenues, and one's come from the left and one's going to be coming from the right. The officer that is going to be helping him is going to be on the OG's door, right? He's going to be on the little homie's door. So when they get upstairs, both of them looking at each other, they're synchronizing. They ease the keys out their pocket. They slide them in the door. They take a look in the cell. They see them on the phones, right? They open the door and say, stand down. Stand down. Don't move. And they point up at the cellar, don't you move. Give me that. Now, cuz them ain't going like that. They ain't going like that. They ain't going like that. So the officer's yelling at them. Now, see, that's what they do when they try to get get your attention. They come with that real authoritative voice. Stop. Don't move. Don't make this worse than it has to be. Now he puts his hand, both of them put their hand on the radio. When they put their hand on that radio, it's a button on there. They hit that button, everybody's coming. The cavalry is coming. So cuz both of them at the same time in different cells, both of them lean down and they turn the phones off. See, they're not looking big picture. They looking at, we just turned the phone on. We get another phone tomorrow. They always have backups. You feel me? They turn the phones off. The officer gets the phone from cuz, the other officer gets the phone from the big homie. Now they got both phones. They take the phones. They go downstairs. The officer gets on the phone. Now both of them are looking at the cell. Now everybody's up now, but it's still dark. But you can see everybody on the doors because they done got the big homie. They ain't really concerned about cuz, you know what I'm saying, the little homie, but they worried about the big homie that got hit. So the officer, he picks up the phone and everybody assumes that he's calling shift command, right? But he called her and he said, I got him. Then she breathes a sigh of relief. He said, I'm going to hit you back later. So then he redials on the phone and he tells shift command, we just busted two guys up here with cell phone. Cap say, pack them up. They're going to the hole. He said, who is it? He told him who it was. He said, yeah, be careful. So the officer goes back up there and opens up the door, throws in some bags, tell both of them, pack up. You're going to the hole. So now they start to pack their stuff up. They ain't really worried about it. They're not thinking big picture. Because normally when you get caught with a phone, you go to the hole, IA comes talk to you, you get your write-up, you plead guilty or not guilty, whatever you're going to get is 5 or 10 days, you're going to do that, and then you're going to get back out on the compound, and you're going to resume your business. That's what they're thinking. They're not thinking that this was a coordinated thing and that they're going to be able to, you know what I'm saying, shut the shop down. Because both of them turned the phones off, so they're assuming that everything is still intact. They're not knowing that she's working with them. They're not looking at it like that because they don't believe that she's that smart. They don't believe any of that. So they just think, okay, we'll do our whole time, come back out. We still got her because we still got the pictures. It is what it is, right? Wrong. Wrong. Because as long as they are in the hole, they can't get to another phone, right? In most cases. Sometimes you get a phone in the back. You feel what I'm saying? But it won't be theirs. And these pictures that they have, the big homie was smart enough to put them in his email, right? So as long as he can access his email account, he has those pictures. Now, the police don't know this yet. But what the police does know is if we keep them from getting a phone, we can stop them because they did calculate if there's any kind of way for them to have them pictures, it's got to be in the cloud. They thought about all of that. So they have to be able to get to a phone to be able to execute this, right? So this is what they do. They take them to the hole. They turn the phones into IA, right? But they destroy the phone, right? They destroy the phone so they don't work, even if they do get turned on. You feel what I'm saying? So IA got the phones. They get the write-ups. They get 10 days in the hole. They're in the hole. They get out of the hole. The officer's been back and forth on the compound. She's been a little straight, but these days that they've been in the hole, the blood's been getting at her. The blood's been getting at her. Now, they've been getting at her. They've been at her hard. Now, she's not knowing what to do because she's telling everybody, I don't want to do this no more. I don't want to talk to nobody no more. So the blood dudes, they start telling us, look, we're going to take care of them. And when we take care of them, everything is going to be fine. She thought that once they got these phones, everything would go away, and it's not going away. It's not going away. But they don't have the leverage that they had on her. Now, she's got to make a choice. Do you want to write these dudes up? Because she can write them up for even soliciting her like it, even talking to her like it. Now, she's got to make that choice. Do you want to write them up? Or do you want to just hope that this goes away? And she knows the option. Her dude is telling her, her friend that's the police officer, he said, you're going to have to write them up. You're going to have to write them up. She said, but if I write them up and they say something to IA, then we got a problem. And the mail officer tells her, look, you ain't got to really worry about them saying nothing to IA because if they say something to IA, then we can label them snitches and then we can blow the whole thing up in their face. They're starting to use, this mail officer is starting to use the tactics the gangs use against them. You're going to be labeled a snitch if you do this. See, let me tell you something. Gang members don't have a problem in saying anything about anybody. Blackmailing, putting on, doing this, telling the police, but they don't want nobody to know that they're doing it. They don't mind if a couple of their brothers know. You feel me? Because that's the theme of blackmailing somebody. You feel what I'm saying? They look at it like it's part of the game. But if you get labeled a snitch and it's not put in its proper context, that could be dangerous. Because everybody that says that they're your brother is really not your brother. Everybody's looking for an opportunity. It's like a lot of piranhas. Once piranhas, they all swim in packs together, right? And they'll attack vulnerable prey together, right? But if one of the piranha is nicked and is bleeding, guess what? The whole pack will attack that injured piranha. And that's kind of how like gangs work. They'll all ride together until one of them gets nicked. And then they'll use that as an opportunity to move up. That's as simple as that. So he steps to the blood, this mail officer, he steps to the blood. He said, look, you need to leave my officer alone. So the blood dude, like any gang member, I don't know what you're talking about. He said, well, I know what you're doing. And leave her alone before she writes you up. You know? So the blood, he goes back and he says something to her. He said, keep playing. I'm going to put you on blast. So she uses the card that the mail officer done told her to use. You put me on blast, I'm going to put you on blast, and I'm going to tell everybody you snitching. Now, the blood is pissed off, but he understands what that means. So he backs up. He go tell the big homie, you know what I'm saying, on blood. He said, look, it's too risky. It's too risky. But the big homie, he's still mad and pissed about what happened on the ball field. It's finna go down. Everybody, as long as this female is still on the compound, we know she's been compromised, we know she'll go, then they think it's a chance. If we can just get rid of the opposition, and both sides are thinking the same thing. Both sides are thinking the same thing. They're not seeing this thing clearly. If both sides just stand down and go on and try to find them another lane, they'll be fine. But they're both pushing the issue. Now the big homie and them on Crip, they get out of the hole. They get out of the hole. They don't have the opportunity to get the phone immediately because now the police is watching them, trying to get them. So they've been using the state phone and this, that, and the third, and they're staying away from the female. But now the Bloods and the Crips, now the words are flying. They go into the chow hall, the words are flying. They get up on the ball field. She's in the pod. She's been hearing about it too. Like I say, inmate.com talks. She's been hearing about it too. They all up on the ball field. While they up on the ball field, one of the Bloods tell the Crips, man, look here. It's over today. This ends today. Cuz look back at him and tell him, man, it is what it is. Now everybody up them butchers. All of a sudden, the officers see it. They hit that button I told you about on them radio. Call the code. Officers need assistance on the ball field. Everybody fly up there. And right about that time, that's when it popped off. Bloods and Crips going at each other. I'm talking about vicious. But the Bloods didn't have numbers. Crips outnumbered them almost 2-3 to 1. It was a madhouse. It was a madhouse. She's sitting in the pod, panicking, not knowing what's going on because she can't see what's going on. But she's hearing these officers on the radio. It's pandemonium. They're calling for the nurses, everybody. Everybody, all hands on deck, get to the ball field. Now, if you're not in a pod or you're not in a critical post, you got to get there. They done locked the gate. Can't nobody get out. Everything is locked down. They are waiting for this to die out because they're not going to jump in the middle of it. And when they finished, it was 2 or 3 people that had been stuck. So here they come. They life flighting them out. Nobody died. Now IA's involved. And when they got involved, they started to hear all the facts, all the details about what was going on. And her name kept popping up over and over and over. So when the internal affairs stepped to her, they said, look, this is how they work. They tell her, look, we understand you're young. We understand what happened. We done talked to everybody. They played you. All we need you to do is just tell us everything and we're going to make sure everything's okay. She wasn't that stupid. Because if she tell them about that weed, she going to jail. Right? They're going to charge her for introduction. But if she tell them everything else, she's going to be seen as the victim. They took advantage of her, manipulated. They're going to fire her. So she takes a deep breath and she tells them everything except the weed. She tells them everything. And they fired her. And they walked her out. And she was crying because she was hurt and disappointed. But she did like a lot of people that work in the prisons. She fell for the okie doke. That's what a lot of people do. They come in here and say what they won't do, but they will. In situations like that, when you get the pressure put down on you, most of them will. Believe it or not. And that's what happened to her. And I wanted to tell this story because I wanted people to understand how twisted gangs can get when they see something that is beneficial to them. They don't weigh it all the way out. Even if they are benefiting from it, they keep pushing and keep pushing and keep pushing because they are anxious, right? Then they want to start to show out and try to impress everybody else. And it's basically where you're cutting off your own nose to spite your face. But at the same time, they're not thinking about the well-being of the individual that they're manipulating and using. That person just becomes an object to them. That's it. That's it. So be careful when you get involved with situations like that and people like that. And you don't have to be in a gang. The person that might be manipulating you and using you doesn't have to be in a gang. See, a manipulator, a user, a narcissist, an opportunist, they come in all shapes, sizes, and colors. I'm sharing this story because of gangs, because I'm in the penitentiary. So just remember that, y'all. I just wanted to drop that on you. This has been another episode of Doing Time with Joe. I'm your host, Joe Baker, and I say peace, y'all.